Dressing like a lady helps me help others, then dress like a lady I shall.
This is also how I feel about making content on YouTube thus far. Hey everybody, it's Johnny2000 and I'm super excited to tell you guys about my first full retrospective video. So today we're deep diving into the world of Drake and Josh, one of Nickelodeon's most iconic teen sitcoms from the 2000s, for better or worse. Whether you're here for nostalgic laughs or discovering the dynamic duo for the first time, we're going to take a look at Drake and Josh season by season and kind of talk about how it became a cultural phenomenon right from the very beginning. So for those who don't know, Drake and Josh aired from 2004 to 2007, centered around two stepbrothers, Drake Parker and Josh Nichols. It was an instant hit thanks to its slapstick comedy, heartfelt moments, and of course, the undeniable chemistry between Drake Bell and Josh Peck. The series became a staple of Nickelodeon, and its influence on teen sitcoms in 2000s pop culture is still talked about today.
Dude, I can't concentrate. I can't hear you! I'm wearing earplugs!
In this series, we're going to be breaking down Drake and Josh season by season. We're going to talk about the episodes, character development, and more importantly, focus on the story and writing of this. And kind of, what is it about 2000s media that we should keep and take away from going forward in our digital media landscape? It's really interesting to me to talk about what impacted us versus what didn't impact us about other people's writing. Now let's start with season 1. So season 1 of Drake and Josh premiered on January 11th, 2004. Interesting, the show actually came out because of the success of The Amanda Show, where Drake Bell and Josh Peck actually were fan favorites and they wanted to see them together, so that's kind of the inception of this show. Nickelodeon saw the potential in the chemistry and decided to give them their own show. So without further ado, let's jump into season 1 of Drake and Josh, the season that introduced us to the Parker-Nichols family, Megan's pranks, and the endless chaos that came with the two stepbrothers from very different worlds. Okay, so that brings us to the pilot. We got Drake Parker, who is cool, popular, while Josh Nichols, who's played by Josh Peck, is a geeky teenager, which Drake describes as
goofy, he's clammy. Hi, Drake. He's here.
Drake's mom, Audrey Parker, Nancy Sullivan, and Josh's dad, Walter Nichols, Jonathan Goldstein, have been dating for a while and they're making out in the living room. Then Drake comes home, interrupting the makeout sesh for the parents to tell Drake and Megan,
Josh's dad and I have been going out for a long time now, and we have some news.
You got me a dirt bike?
the announcement that Josh is going to be moving in and they are all going to officially be a family. Josh is super thrilled, obviously, and Drake is not.
I brought you some licorice, the red kind. I know some people like the black kind, but I thought I'd play it safe.
Immediately off the bat, we can tell that these guys are a lot more intense characteristics of themselves. Like, Josh starts out to be a lot more annoying and nerdy than he inevitably ends up being for Drake and Josh. And Drake is kind of a jerk. Drake is even less excited when he finds out that Josh is Miss Nancy, the anonymous advice columnist for the school newspaper, and that Josh believes he must dress like a woman to adequately portray this advice, to adequately write his advice, which is super, super funny. This is like one of the funniest parts.
I help people with their problems. You can't help people by wearing pants?
Drake then uses this to get a date with Tiffany Margolis, who wrote to Miss Nancy. But then obviously Josh gets in trouble when he angers her boyfriend, Buck, which is played by Joey Mendocino. He thinks she is on a date with Josh and challenges him to a fight.
Have an ambulance ready.
So Josh trains all day under a karate instructor, and I guess becomes strong enough to knock down an 8-year-old? Ends up still getting knocked out with...
Ready? Oh yeah, baby, come on, let's do this, let's go.
Only one punch. So Drake eventually apologizes and helps Josh realize that he could give good advice without wearing his Miss Nancy dress.
I gave good advice while wearing pants.
Not sure what kind of message we're giving here, but it's the pilot. We're just trying to get introduced to the characters. Like, I definitely get that it's just supposed to be funny, not necessarily telling commentary on something. So then both of them make up and they accept each other as stepbrothers, and that's when the series kind of kicks off.
And we can't not acknowledge how different the room is. I kind of like how accurate it is. I definitely didn't notice the specific tiles above where Josh's bed would inevitably be. And I remember the drum set being there, but it wasn't until I saw this that it actually hit me, and that we don't see the couch quite yet. We don't see a lot of this stuff, which kind of is cool because it's like the set is its own character development.
Just once, I like to get away with something.
Josh, get your feet off the coffee table.
Okay, then we get to a fan favorite, which is Dune Buggy. So this is a notorious episode. I remember this playing over and over again. It's when Drake and Josh get a Dune Buggy from his friend Trevor, who's played by Taron Killam, and they find out later that it's broken.
You said it runs.
Oh, you meant the Dune Buggy. Yeah, no, that's broken.
So then Drake and Josh fully repair the Dune Buggy to the surprise of their parents.
You can't drive this out in the street.
Sure we can. This thing will do 50.
I mean, you're not allowed to drive.
Who forbid them from driving it. Drake secretly drives it with Trevor anyway and crashes.
My parents and Josh cannot find out about this. I'll try and figure out a way to hide the Dune Buggy so they won't see it's wrecked.
Drake attempts to conceal his bruises and the damages of the Dune Buggy.
Do me a favor, carry Megan upstairs, would you?
But she's heavy.
I've seen you carry upstairs a dozen times. Come on.
Drake, are you crying?
What's wrong?
She's just so cute.
But Josh eventually finds out when he gets a call from the emergency room and confronts Drake about it. So Josh is angry that all Drake cares about is keeping the accident and the injuries a secret from their parents.
But I won't be able to watch the moves if you do them on me.
Oh, yeah. Drake, come here.
I'd rather not.
Which leads to a really funny sequence where Walter essentially wrestles his injured son-in-law. So, racked with guilt, Drake confesses to Walter and Audrey that what really happened, and then Drake gets in trouble. And then, of course, Josh gets in trouble for knowing and not having said anything about it.
Huh?
And then, funny enough, due to Drake's injury, his grounding simply turns into staying home at school, resting, and making Josh be his servant. This episode is such a good example of the groove they were trying to get into. Like, we have Drake actually pushing his morals onto Josh and showing how Josh responds, and then we kind of see a more devious side of Josh, which comes out and ends up biting him in the butt, which starts this really funny narrative that every time Josh tries to be cool, bad things happen, and every time Drake and things just happen to work out for Drake. See, it's funny because Drake really does suffer most of this episode because of the accident, but this is like the most suffering he'll do in the entire series. Overall, great second episode.
So soft. Well, I am a huge fan of the dryer sheet.
So Josh is convinced that Susan, who's Drake's new girlfriend, is actually flirting with Josh behind Drake's back. So Drake laughs at first, but then becomes angry when he catches Susan kissing Josh and believes that Josh is actually trying to steal Susan from him.
Susan?
Ew! Josh! What are you trying to do?
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time this happened to me.
Josh tries to explain his innocence to Drake, but Drake ignores him and the two become increasingly distant.
Hello?
And then eventually they do the music video project which allows them to look back at the footage and see all these videos that Megan have taken of both Drake and Josh, which is...
Have you been a good boy this year? No? Well, then there you go.
Oh, time sheet.
probably borderline illegal. Drake eventually learns the truth, and Megan inserts a video of Susan flirting with Josh. These videos ends up showing Drake that Susan was the one who did it, and he dumps her. So then Drake and Josh actually thank Megan for her prank, and even get get back at Susan by putting purple paint in her locker, which is like that famous thing in the opening where they're both walking away from the locker and have the reaction. Classic. And this seemingly really brings the two closer together despite actually putting their flaws against each other, and I love that we actually start to see them grow close. Then we got Two Idiots and a Baby. When Audrey and Walter go out to dinner with Mr. and Mrs. Galloway, Josh offers to babysit.
How could you volunteer us to babysit? Because this dinner's really important to my dad.
Mr. and Mrs. Galloway's son, Max. And Max is like a little baby. Obviously, Josh wants to do like the responsible thing while Drake would rather not. So then Drake has to do everything that Josh signed him up for, and they actually try to have to get him changed, which leads to a really disturbing shot of a baby peeing on them, and then is put to sleep. Drake leaves to play at a concert during this, and Josh actually panics because Max disappears.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like that old movie where the baby gets away, baby on something, I don't know.
Oh, Max! Oh, say it again! Oh, Max! Oh, I'm so excited! Oh, let's go! I should be there for this.
But then Drake starts to feel guilty, which is obviously a common trope. It's really just Drake feeling bad for his brother, and he actually returns home to help Josh find Max before Audrey, Walter, and Mr. and Mrs. Galloway return. This one is also another one where it shows that the brothers can step up for each other. I start to notice more about Drake's character, that he's the one who kind of starts as he's kind of the central character. While it seems like a duo, it seems like we're following his flaws, and he starts as a selfish person and slowly tries to adapt and change as he forms this new relationship with Josh.
Look, I can explain. Here's what happened.
Oh, evening, everyone.
And let me conclude the fourth episode with one of my favorite jokes in this one.
Thanks for dinner.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
Please, call me Mr. Galloway.
Okay, the next episode is called First Crush, which I guess they didn't cover enough relationships up until this point. So Josh gets his first crush on Kathy, who's Erin Chambers, but can't stop saying ridiculous things, such as...
Spoons? Spoons? Oh, yeah. Do you like spoons?
I think they're very helpful.
So while he's trying to impress her, he accidentally says that he can play the guitar, which he definitely can't. And Kathy wants Josh to play her a song at her birthday party. It's this coffee shop, not only run by Josh's former karate teacher from the pilot, but the same one that Drake got banned from because of a prank involving Megan's pet snake.
Are you kids out of your mind?
It's kind of funny to think for even a second that the owner of this cafe assumes Drake brought a snake just to be freaked out and run and scare everyone. I don't know how there's no benefit of the doubt on this. It turns out this girl has her birthday party at the exact same cafe that Drake is banned from.
What song are you gonna play?
Why don't we all be surprised?
So he ends up having to hide in order to help Josh, and then somehow does a really good job that impresses her.
Thank you one and all. Peace out.
But then inevitably they come outside because it's a terrible plan and they get caught.
They're conjoined!
But it's nice to see Josh kind of have more of a character moment and show that he's very flawed and actually wants things in his life, but it just seems to not work out for him. Then we're exposed to a really uncomfortable, slimy dance as a snake goes up Josh's pants. So then the final episode of season 1 is called Grammy, and it's Megan, Audrey, and Walter leave the house for the weekend, which it's kind of weird that Megan's like barely involved in some of these episodes. Drake and Josh's dreams of apparently a parent-free weekend are broken when Josh's grandmother and Walter's mom, Grammy, who's played by Randy Heller, she comes to babysit.
Whoa, $50. How'd you know?
You just enjoyed. Wow. $2 off my next haircut.
Josh is glad that Grammy's around, and we see that he's a grandma's boy, which is not surprising at all, but super funny. And then we actually find somebody that favoritizes Josh over Drake, which is interesting because this dynamic ends up coming back more later with the teacher. So it's nice to know that like in the future they keep that dynamic. But Drake obviously doesn't like the Grammy, and he wants to attend a concert with his friends, but she's basically like, no, you can't go. However, they do make a deal where Drake can spend time with his friends if he beats Grammy in a basketball game, as long as he doesn't attend the concert. But obviously Drake is peer pressured into still going to the concert.
Guys, the tickets are not fake. Are you sure? I photocopied them myself.
And they end up finding out that the tickets to get into the concert are actually counterfeit, and they are detained at the venue until Grammy pays a $200 fine to release them. Dang, Drake, this is cool because it's like Drake actually shows remorse before he even, like, pilot episode Drake would probably not care, but this Drake seems to like it seems like he's starting to care about other people's feelings. So then Grammy reveals that she let Drake win so he could go with his friends, but Drake doesn't believe her and decides to play again under the condition that if he wins, no one tells his parents about the concert.
This is better than bingo!
Grammy agrees on one condition, that if he loses, he will tell the parents about the concert. And then Drake obviously loses the game, but when his parents come home, Grammy stops him from telling his parents, seeing as he paid back the $200 and was willing to tell them, and that was good enough for her. And instead, Grammy actually tells Drake's parents that she beat him at basketball, which is a fair punishment, I guess. Drake finally accepts Grammy, and they hug each other goodbye, which is really sweet. I wish Grammy came back after this episode. And then Grammy secretly sticks an envelope onto Drake's backpack, paying back the $200 she gave him. And this is really nice. It's nice to have an episode where like there's an adult character and a teenage character like seeing eye to eye and actually learning from each other. It seems like Grammy like kind of set this up, even though there's no way that could have happened. But, you know, there's a lot of anticipation to see the reactions of the characters, which is very engaging. Like, I definitely go through every scene being like, oh my gosh, is something gonna happen? Are they gonna get in trouble? Like, the stakes are very well raised in this. The episode where Drake's girlfriend kisses Josh is actually the first episode from this season that no longer airs on Teen Nick as of April 27th, 2011, but it is available on Paramount+. And then the episodes 2, Idiots and a Baby, First Crush, and Grammy don't air on Teen Nick as of September 10th, 11th of 2012. The first season, being only 6 episodes, was remarkably short compared to the second season, so it was actually aired in the same year. And a couple facts that we didn't know that I've learned through this rewatch is that Drake and Josh are in the 9th grade in this season. Megan is in 4th grade this season. Drake and Josh are 14, 15 years old, and Megan is 9 or 10. And this is the only appearance of Trevor, Scotty, Rena, Paul, and Grammy Nichols, which is such a shame because Grammy Nichols was a hero.
You and you know it. You couldn't beat an egg.
And something I really didn't expect to remember was that this is the only season not to feature Craig and Eric, Helen, Mindy, Miss Hafer, Gavin, Crazy Steve, Leah, and the entire Premiere complex. It's so funny because obviously like a part of me wasn't surprised that we never went there, but looking back, that was such a staple of the Drake and Josh series that not seeing it introduced here is really interesting. This entire 6-episode cycle feels kind of like a pilot in itself, where we're introduced to a lot of first times of concepts, like for example, like the peer pressure, Drake's group of friends that peer pressure him. Like it seems like later on Drake didn't really have that friend group like that. But it's not like anything from these episodes weren't brought back later. For example, the Grammy dynamic was brought back with Miss Hafer. It's just really weird to think about how old this is, because this is nothing of what I remember Drake and Josh being. But but overall, this is one of the really interesting episodes of the series. But we gotta give a special shout out to some of the really good guest stars.
You're the guy that taught my brother karate. Remember, Josh?
Yeah! He was very, very bad.
The karate teacher, he's definitely played a role unintentionally. I don't know why he came back twice, but it's hard not to note. And then, of course, Grammy. Grammy was a very fun and witty character.
Your butt itches? Where'd that come from, I wonder?
And it's cool to see a little bit more into Josh's home life. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I purposely left out the cold open of each of these Drake and Josh episodes because they kind of are their own standalone little story. But I thought it would be nice to kind of put in all of the best lines from all of them in a small little compilation, so here we go.
I live here with my mom and my little sister Megan. I got a great family even though it's just me and my dad. I love that guy. I love girls. I follow all the rules, because if I even just think about doing something wrong, I get busted. I don't get it. I wish I knew Drake's secret. I wonder where Drake is with our pizza. I cannot believe I ate an entire pizza. The situation with Drake is working out pretty well. Living with Josh isn't so bad, but he has got to stop clipping his toenails on my bed. Drake's bed sure is comfortable. Great! Hola! All right, back at ya.
Okay, now we're gonna rank the episodes from least effective to most effective, and I'm gonna be focusing more on the storyline, morals, and just relevance to the show. Like, if there was any episodes we could do without, it'd probably be at the tail end. So number 6, we have Two Idiots and a Baby. All the episodes in the show were good, but the only reason I'm putting this at the last is because I felt like we already kind of established that Drake and Josh needed to work together, and it kind of was the end point of every episode, so this is gonna be at number 6. Then at number 5, we have First Crush. I love that we have a Josh episode where we're seeing him have a crush, but I do feel like it also is a little bit more repetitive. The Believe Me Brother episode seems like it's also doing the same thing that this episode is doing. That's the only reason I'm putting it this low. Number 4, I'll say Grammy. I really like this episode, and I love that we get to see Josh. This is probably why I would put the First Crush episode at number 5, because this is kind of diving into Josh's personal life a little bit. But of course, it's like a good episode anyway. And then we get to Believe Me Brother, which I definitely think is a really good one. Like, I put it so high because I feel like this is like the heart of the show, is Drake and Josh being against each other, especially if there's a conflict of interest. Why Drake would trust a random person kind of over Josh, and I think by the end it actually draws them closer. Overall, just a really sweet episode. I'd put Dune Buggy. It's such a good episode, and it's so funny to watch Drake get into this situation, especially following his character and growth by the end of it with his guilt. And it's overall just super funny, and I like seeing this like darker side of Josh. I think it's really necessary. And then of course, number 1, we have the pilot. I normally wouldn't, I'm not really biased toward the pilot, like I didn't need to put it at number 1, but I feel like it does such a good job at setting things up, and some of the jokes here are very, very worth it. But I don't know, you guys have probably seen all of these episodes. What do you think about my rankings? And be honest with me about that scrapbook transition. Does it look weird? Is it cheesy? I won't do it next episode if you don't like it, but honestly, I stand by it right now. So if I had to recommend this to another generation, like for example, if I had to show the kid I babysit this show and be like, this is, like, what lessons did I want him to pull from this show? I feel like there's some really good social emotional lessons when it comes to getting along with other people. Like, at its core, it's a very basic story, and it's not like they did something super revolutionary. Like, if anything, Drake and Josh is known for its nuanced writing and the impressive acting of the actors, but at the end of the day, it's about two brothers with their own flaws that really clash against each other. And it's a very basic family sitcom where it's the two brothers have an annoying sister and parents with rules. Like, there isn't anything crazy about it. I think my kid would appreciate the humor, and I think they would have a lot of fun knowing that this doesn't take itself super seriously. Like, the comedy feels like it's more important than the plot, but the plot is very there. Like, I grew up thinking that this was just a simple comedy, but I do think this structurally was a very good comedy with pretty good morals grounded to it. I know iCarly and Victorious, like, later they kind of get a little bit murky with the lessons, and I think even Drake and Josh will get there where it just becomes more episodes about having fun and just making somebody laugh. But at this place in time, it seems like this is a genuinely good story. I think if it ended after its first season, like, let's just assume it got canceled after these 6 episodes, that we never got to meet, like, Eric, Craig, the premiere, Crazy Steve, anything, I would probably think this was a really grounded, wholesome show, and I'd probably really want more seasons. I would never have anticipated that, like, the seasons would eventually become more focused on comedy than it necessarily is about the morals or the grounded stories. But you know what, that's, you know, I feel like first season, like, you have something to prove. Like, you want to show somebody that you want to show an audience that you're a good show, but you can also be entertaining and also good at co-viewing, that parents and kids can watch this. And I think it accomplishes all of those things. You know, it's when they don't feel like they have something to prove, when, like, it's very clear that the actors is kind of what people are watching for, is when the show starts to become a little bit more comedy-centric. Now let's talk about some of the closing sequences. I mean, these are usually just little comedy bits.
Oh, I wasn't on a date with him. I was on a date with him.
Oh, but it was
In the first episode, it's Drake getting beat up, which didn't make the episode. And the second one, it's also Drake getting beat up.
Oh, octopus, don't attack me!
And then in the third one, it's a little bit of the music video, but then Josh in the bathtub. And of course, the fourth one is just this one really awkward joke going on for too long.
Well, Rena, you're a girl. You change him.
Okay, sure, yeah. Once.
And the next one is also an awkward joke going on really too long.
I thought this was about me. Oh, I'm sorry. Come here, Joshua. Give me a kiss. Come on, baby. Give me some sugar.
They'll sometimes be scenes that didn't make the episode, which I think are just, it's so cute to add all these.
I know his type. I dated a dozen musicians before I met your grandfather.
I'm not sure I want to think about you dating a dozen musical men.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you want to see me cover season 2 or any other shows, please comment below. I had so much fun making this video, and I hope to make some more, so thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe to Johnny 2000.